Jack Miller floated in space, his tether connecting him to the mining ship Horizon. He checked the outer hull for damage from the recent meteor shower. The stars stretched endlessly around him. Jack loved these moments outside the ship. They reminded him how small humans were in the universe. "Hull Section 5 looks clear, Lisa," Jack said into his comm. "Just some minor scratches, nothing our shields can't handle next time." "Good work, Jack," Captain Lisa Chen's voice crackled through his helmet. "Finish your inspection and come back in. Dinner's almost ready and Ned made his famous pasta." Jack smiled and moved to the next section. He had been on the Horizon for 3 years now. The crew felt like family. His past was behind him, buried under his new identity as a simple maintenance technician. No one on board knew about his military training or his work in intelligence. That was exactly how he wanted it. A flash of movement caught Jack's eye. Something large shifted in the shadow of a nearby asteroid. At first he thought it was just space debris, but it moved too smoothly, too purposefully. "Lisa, I'm picking up something strange near the port side," Jack reported, trying to keep his voice calm. "Might be." The words died in his throat as a beam of pale blue light shot out from the darkness. It wasn't like any weapon Jack had seen before. Instead of destroying, it seemed to grab. The light wrapped around him like a physical thing, freezing him in place. "Jack? Jack, do you copy?" Lisa's voice grew more urgent in his ear, but he couldn't respond. Through the strange glow, Jack saw it emerge from behind the asteroid. The ship was unlike any human vessel. It moved silently, its hull a deep purple with lines of light pulsing across its surface. It was small, maybe for scouting or short-range missions. The beam pulled Jack toward the alien craft. He struggled against it, but his body wouldn't respond. His military training kicked in automatically. He controlled his breathing, focused his mind, and began memorizing every detail of the ship. A hatch opened on the underside of the craft, and Jack was pulled inside. The blue beam disappeared, but before he could move, metal restraints snapped around his arms and legs. The air hissed as the chamber pressurized. Tall figures moved toward him in the dim light. They walked on 2 legs, but looked nothing like humans. Their bodies were covered in a hard shell-like surface that caught the light and sent it back in shifting colors. Their heads were shaped somewhat like insects, with large compound eyes that studied him with cold intelligence. One of the aliens reached for his helmet. Jack tensed, expecting to suffocate, but the air in the chamber seemed breathable when his helmet came off. The alien tilted its head, examining Jack's face with obvious curiosity. "Subject secured," the alien said, in perfect English, though its mouthparts didn't move in a way that should allow human speech. Returning to the mothership, Jack felt the small craft accelerate. Through a viewport, he watched the horizon grow smaller until it was just another dot of light among the stars. He tried to look calm, like a frightened technician, not a trained operative assessing the situation. The small ship docked with a much larger vessel that had been hiding on the far side of the asteroid field. Jack was transferred to this bigger ship by 4 guards. They marched him through curved hallways where more of the insect-like aliens stopped to stare at him. Jack was brought to a small cell with transparent walls. The guards secured him to a chair in the center of the room. As they left, one of the aliens spoke. "The interrogator will speak with you soon, human. Prepare yourself." Left alone, Jack closed his eyes and began mentally reviewing his cover story. Whatever these aliens wanted, they wouldn't find it easy to get. What they saw as a simple human technician was anything but. As he waited, Jack focused on one goal. Survival first, then escape. The real interrogation hadn't even started, but Jack was already gathering information, looking for weaknesses, and planning his next move. Jack lost track of time in the cell. The lights never changed, and there was no way to tell how long he had been waiting. He used the time to study his surroundings. The walls seemed to shimmer slightly, changing colors in a slow pattern. The floor hummed with energy. Every detail might be useful later. The door slid open silently. A taller alien entered, its shell decorated with intricate patterns that the others lacked. This one was clearly important. "I am Chief Interrogator Vexnor," the alien said, its voice coming from a small device on what might be its chest. "You will answer my questions, human." Jack nodded, playing the role of a frightened technician. Why am I here? I'm just a maintenance worker. Vexnor's large compound eyes studied Jack. Humans are expanding too quickly through this sector. We need to understand your capabilities and intentions. The room's colors began to shift faster. A low sound pulsed through the air, making Jack's head hurt slightly. He recognized these techniques, sensory manipulation to create discomfort and confusion. Where are your main military bases located? Vexnor asked. I wouldn't know, Jack said, his voice shaking just enough to seem genuine. I fix things on a mining ship. I've never been in the military. Vexnor clicked something that might have been frustration. What are the defense capabilities of your vessel? Jack gave vague answers about the basic shields that any civilian would know about. He was careful not to reveal anything important while seeming to cooperate. His military training had prepared him for interrogation, but the aliens didn't need to know that. Your responses are unhelpful, Vexnor said after many questions. We will use other methods. Two smaller aliens wheeled in a strange machine. It had a curved screen and many thin, wire-like arms tipped with small pads. They attached these pads to Jack's head and chest. This is a neural scanner, Vexnor explained. It will read your thoughts and memories directly. Resistance is not possible. Jack felt fear then, real fear. But he remembered his training. As the machine hummed to life, he began using mental techniques to control what the scanner would see. He focused on mundane memories, fixing pipes, eating meals with the crew, watching stars through the ship's windows. Between these real memories, he carefully inserted false ones, simple enough to seem real. The machine showed images on its screen, exactly the memories Jack wanted them to see. Vexnor watched with growing frustration. The human mind is unusually simple, one of the assistants said. Only basic functions and memories. Jack pretended to be exhausted by the scanning, slumping in his restraints. Inside, he was calculating. The aliens thought humans were simple. This was an advantage. Vexnor leaned closer to Jack. Your species spreads through space like a virus, yet your minds are primitive. This does not make sense. We're just trying to survive, Jack mumbled, keeping his eyes down. Not everyone can be as advanced as you. The flattery seemed to please Vexnor. Perhaps this specimen is simply below average intelligence for his kind. Bring in the chemical enhancers. We will try a more direct approach. As the assistants prepared injections of some glowing blue liquid, Jack noticed something important. The guards changed positions at regular intervals. The door controls used a simple touch sequence. The ship made different sounds when its engines changed speed. All useful information, all potential weaknesses. When they injected the blue liquid into his arm, Jack felt his mind grow foggy. But deep inside, in a place the aliens couldn't reach, he remained alert. The experimental program he had volunteered for years ago had changed, his neurochemistry, making him resistant to most sedatives and truth drugs. Now human, Vexnor said as Jack's head lolled forward, seemingly affected by the drug. Tell us everything about Earth's defenses. Jack began to mumble, slurring his words, giving them useless information mixed with carefully crafted lies. All while continuing to study, observe, and plan. The real Jack Miller remained hidden beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to reveal himself. 36 hours had passed since Jack's capture. The aliens kept injecting him with more of the blue liquid, increasing the dose each time. They were growing frustrated. In their world, no mind could resist their methods for this long. Increase the dosage again, Vexnor ordered. This human is unusually resistant. A younger alien with lighter-colored markings stepped forward. Chief Interrogator, this dose might be lethal to the human system. Then get what you can before it dies, Vexnor said coldly. We need this information. As they prepared another injection. Jack focused on appearing weaker than he truly was. His eyes were half-closed, his breathing shallow, but his mind remained sharp, cataloging everything. He now understood the ship's daily patterns. The guards changed every 6 hours. The engines made a distinctive sound when they changed speed. He had even detected the slight differences in air pressure that suggested they were orbiting a planet or moon, not traveling through deep space. While appearing nearly unconscious, Jack worked on the small metal shard he had managed to extract from his boot during an earlier session when they had loosened his restraints. The aliens had not noticed. It was now hidden under his palm, slowly being shaped into a tool. Meanwhile, aboard the mining ship Horizon, Captain Lisa Chen paced the bridge. It's been almost 2 days. Any sign of Jack or whatever took him? The ship's sensor operator shook his head. Nothing on standard scans, Captain. But I found something strange. He pointed to a display showing energy readings. There's a faint quantum signature here, unlike anything I've seen from natural sources. Lisa leaned closer. Can we track it? Maybe. It's very weak, but the pattern is distinctive. Lisa nodded firmly. Do it, and contact Earth Command. Tell them we have a possible first contact situation with hostile intent. Back on the alien ship, Jack was finally alone in his cell. The latest round of questioning had ended when he appeared, to lose consciousness. The aliens believed he was now in a deep drug-induced sleep. This was his chance. Jack opened his eyes just slightly, checking for observers. The cell appeared empty, but he knew they were monitoring him somehow. He continued to breathe as if asleep while working the metal shard against his restraints. Hours of careful work had weakened one crucial connection point. In the interrogation control room, 2 aliens watched Jack on screens. This specimen is disappointing, one said. Such a primitive mind. The other tilted its head. Something doesn't make sense. Look at these neural pathway readings. Certain areas remain active even under heavy sedation. Unnatural variation in human biology, perhaps? Perhaps. Or something else. They were interrupted by an alarm. Energy readings had detected the approach of another ship, a human vessel. The Horizon had managed to track the faint quantum signature of the alien scout ship that had captured Jack. As activity on the ship increased, Jack felt the change. The slight vibration in the floor, the distant sound of aliens moving quickly, the subtle change in the air circulation. Something was happening. It was time to move. With one quick motion, Jack snapped the weakened restraint. In 3 seconds, he freed his other limbs. He moved silently to the door, using the metal shard to access the control panel he had studied for hours. The door slid open. A guard turned, surprised. Before the alien could react, Jack struck precisely at the joint where the exoskeleton was, thinnest, a weakness he had noticed during his captivity. The guard fell silently. Jack quickly took the guard's translation device and weapon. The weapon was strange, organic-looking with no obvious trigger. But Jack had watched how the guards carried it where their limbs touched it. He figured it out quickly. Alarms began to sound throughout the ship. Jack knew he had minutes at most before the entire vessel was locked down. He needed to find the communication center. From his observations of guard movements and corridor designs, he had mapped the likely layout of the ship in his mind. He moved quickly but cautiously through the curved hallways, avoiding patrols. When he couldn't avoid them, he used his new knowledge of alien physiology to disable them efficiently. 3 more guards fell before he reached what appeared to be a communication hub. Inside, alien symbols flashed on screens all around. Jack barricaded the door and began to study the controls. His military training included basic xenolinguistics, the study of potential alien communication systems. The patterns were complex but not incomprehensible. As he worked to understand the alien technology, Jack heard the sound of cutting tools on the door behind him. They would break through soon. He needed to work faster. Let's see what you're really up to, he muttered, fingers moving across the alien interface. And let's make sure my friends know about it. Jack's fingers moved quickly across the alien controls. Years of training helped him recognize patterns in the symbols flashing on the screens. He found what looked like a communication system and began searching through the alien data. What he discovered made his blood run cold. These aliens, the Zigtal as they called themselves, weren't just studying humans. They were planning an attack. Detailed plans showed their fleet positions near several human colonies. The interrogation was just gathering final intelligence before they launched their first strike. "This is worse than I thought," Jack muttered. He needed to warn Earth, but how? The cutting sounds at the door grew louder. He had minutes at most. Jack found what appeared to be a transmission system. Using the translation device he'd taken from the guard, he figured out enough of the alien language to create a basic message. He included everything he'd learned about the Ziktal ships, weapons, and attack plans. He encrypted the message using an old military code and sent it toward the approaching horizon. Just as the transmission completed, the door burst open. 6 Ziktal warriors rushed in, weapons raised. Jack spun around, the alien weapon in his hand. He managed to fire once, hitting one of the warriors before something struck him from behind. When Jack woke up, he was back in the interrogation room, secured even more tightly than before. Vexnor stood over him, the alien's compound eyes reflecting. Jack's face back at him a dozen times. "You are not what you appear to be," Vexnor said, his translator making his voice sound almost impressed. "No simple technician could escape our restraints, disable our guards, or understand our systems." Jack said nothing. His head throbbed where they had struck him, but his mind remained clear. Had his message reached the horizon? He hoped so. "I have reviewed your neural scans more carefully," Vexnor continued. "There are anomalies. Your brain shows signs of enhancement, military training. You have been hiding your true nature from us." "Everyone has secrets," Jack finally said. Vexnor made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Indeed. And now I wish to learn yours properly." The alien gestured, and the guards and other interrogators left the room. For the first time, Jack was alone with the chief interrogator. "No more drugs, no more scanners," Vexnor said, moving to sit across from Jack. "Just 2 intelligent beings talking. You have earned that much respect." Jack raised an eyebrow. "You're not worried I'll escape again? You will not have the opportunity, but I am curious about you now. Your species seemed so simple, so predictable. Yet you—" Vexnor tilted his head. "You make me question our assessment of humanity." On the bridge of the horizon, Captain Lisa stared at the screen in disbelief. "You're sure this is from Jack?" The communications officer nodded. "It's his personal code embedded in the transmission, and it came from that." He pointed to the massive alien ship now visible on their long-range scanners. "What does it say?" Lisa asked. "It's military-grade encryption. I can only decode parts of it, but it's a warning. These aliens are planning to attack human colonies, and there's more. Ship specifications, weapons capabilities, tactical information." Lisa's face hardened. "Send everything to Earth Command, immediately, and prepare the ship. We're going to get Jack back." "Captain, that ship is massive. We're just a mining vessel." Lisa smiled grimly. "Yes, but Earth Command is sending 3 military cruisers to meet us. They'll be here in 2 hours, and thanks to Jack, we'll know exactly where to hit them." Back in the interrogation room, Jack and Vexnor continued their unusual conversation. "Your people have only been in space for a short time," Vexnor said. "Yet you spread so quickly. It concerns us." "Concerns you enough to plan an attack on our colonies?" Jack asked, watching the alien carefully. Vexnor's body language changed subtly. "So you did access our tactical database. Impressive." "We're not a threat to you," Jack said. "Humans just want to explore, to survive. History suggests otherwise. Species that expand rapidly often consume all in their path." Jack leaned forward as much as his restraints would allow. "You've been studying us, but you don't understand us. Humans are more complex than you realize." "Explain," Vexnor demanded, genuine curiosity in his voice. "Release these restraints, and I will. Consider it a gesture of good faith between 2 intelligent species." For a long moment, Vexnor stared at Jack. Then, to Jack's surprise, the alien reached out and pressed a control. The restraints on Jack's right arm released, one arm only. Vexnor said, "As a test." Jack nodded, rubbing his wrist. "Fair enough. Now let me tell you why your attack will fail, and why you should reconsider your plans for humanity." As Jack began to speak, deep in the alien ship, sensors detected the approach. Jack leaned forward, looking directly into Vexnor's compound eyes. You've been studying humans as a potential threat, but you've missed something important about us." "And what is that?" Vexnor asked, his translator making his voice sound curious. "Humans evolved as both predators and prey," Jack explained. "We competed with each other and cooperated at the same time. It made us unpredictable." Vexnor's head tilted slightly. "The Ziktal evolved from a hive species. We understand cooperation perfectly. But do you understand deception? Bluffing? Taking risks based on incomplete information?" Jack watched the alien carefully. "Do you understand that humans will sacrifice themselves to save others? Or that we might destroy ourselves rather than be conquered?" The alien's body language showed confusion. These concepts seemed new to him. "In your society, does everyone know their place from birth?" Jack asked. "Of course, it is efficient." Jack smiled slightly. "Humans can be anything. I wasn't born a soldier or a technician. I chose to become both at different times. Any human can change their path." An alarm sounded, interrupting their conversation. Vexnor touched a control panel on the wall. A screen showed multiple human ships approaching. "Your people are coming. For you," Vexnor said. "How did they find us?" Jack shrugged with his free arm. "Maybe you underestimated them too." Vexnor studied Jack with new intensity. "You sent a message during your escape." "I did. And I included everything I learned about your attack plans." For the first time, the alien showed something like respect. "You were captured intentionally, weren't you? This was a human intelligence operation." It wasn't true, but Jack saw an opportunity. What if it was? What if humans have been studying the Ziktal just as carefully as you've been studying us? The idea clearly disturbed Vexnor. The alien paced the room, thinking. "Impossible. We have been careful, hidden." "Not careful enough," Jack said. "Those ships out there, they're just the beginning. If you attack our colonies, you'll face the full response of humanity. And we fight differently than you might expect." On the lead human cruiser, Captain Lisa stood with Commander Alan Peters of Earth's Defense Fleet. They looked at the tactical display showing Jack's transmitted data about the alien ship. "Your technician did amazing work," Commander Peters said. "This information gives us a fighting chance." "He's more than a technician," Lisa said quietly. "I've suspected for a while. His reflexes, his knowledge, they don't match his background." "A hidden operative?" Lisa nodded. "Probably. But right now, he's one of ours in enemy hands." "How do we get him out?" Commander Peters pointed to a section of the alien ship schematics. "Their shields have a cycling pattern. There's a 3-second window where we could send in a small team." "I'm going," Lisa said immediately. "Captain, that's not... He's my crew. I'm going." In the interrogation room, Vexnor received an urgent message from the ship's command. Jack couldn't understand the alien language, but the tone was clear. The situation was serious. "Your people are demanding communication," Vexnor said when the message ended. "They threaten attack if we do not return you." Jack's face showed no surprise. "What will you do?" "The High Command wants to destroy your vessels as a demonstration." "That would be a mistake," Jack said calmly. "Those ships out there are just a small part of humanity's forces. If they don't return, more will come. Many more." Vexnor moved closer to Jack. "Is this another human bluff?" "Do you want to find out?" Jack asked. "Or would you rather explore a different option?" "What option?" "Take me to your High Command. Let me speak to them. I can help negotiate a peaceful solution that works for both our species." Vexnor was silent for a long moment. "Why would you help us after we captured you? After we planned to attack your colonies?" Jack looked at the alien steadily. "Because humans are complex. We can be your worst enemy or your most valuable ally. The choice is yours." Throughout the massive alien ship, uncertainty spread. The normally confident Ziktal had never faced a situation like this. A prisoner who escaped impossible restraints, enemy ships that found their hidden location, information systems compromised. Some of the military leaders wanted immediate action, to destroy the human ships and continue with the attack plans. Others were now uncertain, wondering if they had misjudged the human threat completely. The midst of this confusion, Vexnor made a decision. He reached out and released all of Jack's restraints. "I will take you to the High Command," the alien said. "But be warned, some will not welcome your presence." Jack stood up slowly, stretching his cramped muscles. "I understand. Lead the way." As they left the interrogation room together, neither of them realized that a faction of hardline Ziktal military leaders had already decided that both the human and Vexnor were now threats that needed to be eliminated. Jack walked beside Vexnor through the long, curved hallways of the alien ship. Guards followed closely behind them, weapons ready. The other Ziktal they passed stared at Jack with what seemed like a mixture of fear and curiosity. "Your people have never seen a human before?" Jack asked. "Only in data files," Vexnor replied. "You are the first live specimen most have encountered." They entered a large chamber with a domed ceiling. 7 older Ziktal sat in a half-circle on raised seats. Their exoskeletons had more elaborate patterns than any Jack had seen so far. "The High Command," Vexnor said quietly. "Be respectful, but firm." The central figure spoke, its translator, making the words sound flat and mechanical. "Why have you brought the prisoner here, Chief Interrogator?" "High leaders, this human has information that may change our understanding of their species," Vexnor said. "I believe we should listen before proceeding with our plans." Murmurs ran through the room. One of the High Command with red markings on its shell spoke angrily. "This is unprecedented. The attack plans are already in motion." "Which is exactly why we should reconsider," Vexnor responded. "I ask permission for the human to speak." After a tense silence, the central figure nodded. "Proceed, human." Jack stepped forward. "Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Jack Miller. I come from Earth, but I speak for all humans when I say we don't want war with the Ziktal." "Yet your ships approach in attack formation," said the red-marked leader. "They came to rescue me," Jack explained. "Just as you would rescue one of your own. But they don't need to fire a single shot if we can talk instead." Jack could feel the doubt in the room. He needed to change their perspective quickly. "You've been studying humans, but there's something you need to understand about us. We're not like the Ziktal. Your society is built on order and clear roles. Ours is built on adaptation and change." He looked at each alien leader one by one. "Let me tell you about human history. We've faced extinction many times. Ice ages, plagues, wars. Each time we survived not because we were strongest, but because we changed. We adapted. We took risks that seemed crazy. Primitive survival instincts," scoffed the red-marked leader. "More than that," Jack countered. "We can be ruthless competitors one moment and selfless allies the next. We can sacrifice everything for strangers or fight to the death over small disagreements." The central leader leaned forward. "This unpredictability is precisely why you are dangerous. Or why we could be valuable allies," Jack suggested. "The same creativity that makes us unpredictable has given us art, music, and scientific leaps that other species might take centuries to discover." As Jack spoke, messages were being exchanged throughout the ship. The human vessels had taken positions surrounding the Ziktal mothership. They were outnumbered but positioned at key strategic points based on the information Jack had sent. In a lower section of the ship, a group of military hardliners gathered secretly. "The High Command is listening to a human prisoner," said one, in disgust. "This is weakness." "Vexnor has been corrupted," said another. "We cannot allow this to continue." The leader of the group, a battle-scarred veteran, raised a limb for silence. "We will act soon. Prepare the weapons. The human ships must be destroyed as planned, and both the prisoner and Vexnor must be eliminated." Back in the command chamber, Jack continued his unusual negotiation. "You plan to attack our colonies because you see our expansion as a threat. But what if we could work together instead? Humans have resources you need. You have technology we could learn from." The High Command members exchanged looks. Some seemed intrigued, others suspicious. "How can we trust creatures who master deception?" asked one. Jack smiled slightly. "The same way we would trust beings who plan to attack us." carefully, with clear agreements and mutual benefits. On the human ships, Captain Lisa and Commander Peters watched the alien vessel closely. No hostile movements yet, Peters noted. Your man must be doing something right in there. Jack has always been good at talking his way out of trouble, Lisa said, but we should still be ready for anything. In the command chamber, the debate continued. Some of the Zichtal leaders were beginning to consider Jack's words. The idea of humans as potential allies rather than just threats was new to them. Then alarms sounded throughout the ship. The central screen showed multiple smaller Zichtal vessels launching from the mothership without authorization. What is happening? Demanded the central leader. A communication officer rushed in. High leader, military vessels are launching without orders. They're moving to attack the human ships. Jack. Chaos erupted in the high command chamber. The Zichtal leaders shouted orders that were ignored by the rogue military vessels now heading toward the human ships. We must stop them, Jack said urgently to Vex Nor. If they fire first, my people, we'll have no choice but to defend themselves. The central leader rose from his seat. All vessels return to dock immediately. This is a direct order. But the rebel ships continued their approach. On the view screens, Jack could see the human fleet shifting into defensive positions. High leader, Vex Nor said, we must prove our intentions to the humans. Allow me to take a communication vessel. Out with the prisoner. We can position ourselves between the fleets. The red-marked leader hissed, absurd. You would risk yourself for a human? I would risk myself to prevent an unnecessary war, Vex Nor replied firmly. After a moment of consideration, the central leader nodded. Go. We will continue trying to recall our rogue vessels. Jack and Vex Nor hurried through the corridors toward the launch bay. 2 loyal guards accompanied them. If your plan fails, you will be declared a traitor, one guard said to Vex Nor. I am aware, the chief interrogator replied calmly. They reached a small, fast ship designed for communication between vessels. As they prepared to board, shots rang. Out from the end of the corridor. The hardline faction had found them. Go, shouted one of the guards returning fire. We will hold them off. Jack and Vex Nor rushed into the small ship and sealed the hatch. Vex Nor moved quickly to the controls, his many-fingered hands dancing across the panels. Can you fly this thing? Jack asked, watching the alien work. I was a pilot before becoming an interrogator, Vex Nor answered. Hold on. The ship shot out of the launch bay, accelerating rapidly. Behind them, the guards fought a losing battle against the hardliners, buying them just enough time to escape. On the bridge of the human command ship, Captain Lisa watched the approaching Zichtal fighters with growing tension. Weapons hot, Commander Peters ordered, but hold fire until fired upon. A communications officer called out, Captain, I'm receiving a transmission from a small alien vessel that just launched from the mothership. Put it through, Lisa ordered. Jack's voice came through the speakers. Lisa, it's Jack. I'm on a Zichtal communication ship with Chief Interrogator Vex Nor. Do not fire on us, we're trying to stop this. Lisa's eyes widened. Jack, what's happening over there? There's been a split in their command. Some want peace, others want war. We're positioning ourselves between the fleets as a sign of good faith. On the view screens, they could see the small vessel moving to place itself between the human ships and the approaching Zichtal fighters. That's either the bravest or craziest thing I've ever seen, Commander Peters muttered. Inside the communication vessel, Jack turned to Vex Nor. Now what? Now we broadcast to both fleets, Vex Nor said, activating the ship's powerful communication array. I will speak to my people. You speak to yours. Jack took the communication device. This is Jack Miller to all human vessels. Hold your fire. The Zichtal High Command did not authorize this attack. We are working on a peaceful solution. Vex Nor sent his own message in the Zichtal language, his tone firm and commanding. What did you tell them? Jack asked when the alien finished. I reminded them of our core principles. The Zichtal have always valued knowledge and understanding above conflict. I questioned whether they truly wish to be remembered as the ones who started a war based on fear rather than facts. The Zichtal fighters slowed their approach but didn't retreat. The human vessels maintained their defensive positions. The standoff, continued with Jack and Vexnor's small ship floating in the middle. On the mothership, the central leader of the High Command made a decision. Using an emergency channel that could not be blocked, he addressed all Ziktal. Attention all Ziktal. This is High Leader Zex Von. I have spoken with the human representative. There is much we do not understand about their species, but this I know. They are complex beyond our initial assessment. They offer potential alliance rather than certain conflict. The message continued, playing throughout the mothership and to all Ziktal vessels. Some of the fighters began to pull back. Others hesitated. In the small communication ship, Jack received a private message from Lisa. Jack, whatever you're doing, it's working. Some of their ships are withdrawing. But not all of them. 3 fighters commanded by the most radical hardliners continued their approach. They were now close enough to fire on the human fleet. Have a problem, Jack said to Vexnor, pointing to the view screen. Those 3 aren't backing down. Vexnor studied the ships. They are led by War Commander Kazvor. He has always believed that expansion through conquest is the only path forward for our species. Can you talk to him directly? I can try. Vexnor opened a channel to the lead fighter. War Commander, this is Chief Interrogator Vexnor. The High Command has ordered all vessels to stand down. The reply came back filled with anger. You are a traitor to the Ziktal. The humans must be destroyed before they destroy us. Jack leaned toward the communication device. War Commander, this is the human prisoner. If you fire on our ships, you will start a war that will cost many lives on both sides. Is that truly what you want? Silence, human. Your deceptions will not work on me. Jack looked at Vexnor. He's not going to listen. No, Vexnor agreed, grimly. He has made his choice. The 3 Ziktal fighters accelerated, weapons charging. They were seconds away from firing range. We need to move, Jack said suddenly. Position us directly in front of the lead fighter. That would place us in their line of fire, Vexnor pointed out. Exactly, Jack said. Let's see if they're willing to fire on one of their own ships to get to us. Vexnor hesitated only briefly before adjusting their course. The small communication vessel moved directly into the path of War Commander Kazvor's fighter. What are you doing? Came the angry transmission from the War Commander. Testing a human concept, Vexnor replied. It's called calling your bluff. The small communication vessel hovered in space directly in the path of War Commander Kazvor's fighter. For several tense seconds, no one moved. Move your vessel immediately, Kazvor demanded. This is your final warning. Jack and Vexnor exchanged glances. Neither backed down. If you want to start a war, you'll have to kill one of your own first, Jack replied calmly. On the human command ship, Captain Lisa watched with growing concern. They're putting themselves directly in the line of fire, she said. That's Jack. For you. Always the crazy brave one. Commander Peters studied the tactical display. The other alien fighters are pulling back. Only those 3 are still in attack position. Something's happening on their main ship too. On the Ziktal mothership, the High Command had made its decision. The central leader, Zex Von, opened a direct channel to War Commander Kazvor. This is a direct order from the full High Command. Stand down immediately. Your actions are unauthorized and risk bringing destruction upon our people. They deceive you, Kazvor shouted back. The humans are a threat that must be eliminated. That is not your decision to make, Zex Von replied firmly. Stand down now, or you will be considered a traitor to the Ziktal. In the communication vessel, Jack suddenly remembered something important. Vexnor, when I was in your communication center, I did more than just send a message to my ship, he said quickly. I planted a virus in your weapon systems. The alien turned his large eyes toward Jack. What? It's not designed to harm anyone, Jack explained. But if activated, it will cause a temporary shutdown of all weapon systems on Ziktal vessels. It was an insurance policy. Vexnor's body language showed surprise, then understanding. Can you activate it now? Jack nodded. I need access to your ship's communication array. Vexnor moved aside, giving Jack access to the controls. Jack worked quickly, sending a specific sequence of signals toward the mothership. "What are they doing?" Commander Peters asked, watching the small vessel transmitting toward the alien mothership. Before anyone could answer, alarms sounded on the 3 Ziktal fighters. Their weapon systems suddenly went offline, power fluctuations rippling through their ships. "What is happening?" Kazvor demanded, his voice filled with rage and confusion. On the mothership, similar alarms were sounding as weapon systems shut down across the entire vessel. The High Command looked around in confusion. "Our weapons are disabled," one of the leaders reported. "Some kind of cascading system failure." Zexavon looked at the view screen showing Jack and Vexnor's vessel. "The human did this," he said, but there was no anger in his voice, only a new respect. War Commander Kazvor, his weapons disabled and his authority challenged, made one last desperate move. He ordered his fighter to ram the small communication vessel. "He's going to crash into them," Lisa shouted, watching the fighter accelerate toward Jack and Vexnor. Inside the communication vessel, Vexnor saw the approaching fighter and took control of their ship, executing a perfect evasive maneuver. Kazvor's fighter shot past them, missing by meters. As the fighter passed, the human vessels fired precise shots that disabled its engines but left the life support intact. The other 2 fighters, seeing their leader neutralized and facing the EU, combined authority of the High Command and the human fleet, finally powered down their engines and stood down. The crisis was over. Hours later, Jack Essie,